This story is an immersive and emotional journey designed to help you strengthen your listening comprehension and enrich your vocabulary. It's a practical guide to transforming your life through the power of small actions. Imagine having the world at your feet, talent vibrating in your hands, and then silence. What happens when the stage that defines you becomes your greatest fear? This is the story of a violinist who lost the melody of her life and needed to find a new way to tune her soul. At 28, Elara wasn't just a talented violinist, she was a rising star in New York's music scene. Her performances were celebrated, her name whispered in the corridors of great theaters. But behind the spotlight's glare, a dissonant melody grew within her. On a fateful night, at the peak of a concert at Carnegie Hall, with a full orchestra and an ecstatic audience, her hands betrayed her. A wave of panic struck. The stage spun, her breath gasped. Fear of the audience defeated her. She ran off the stage, applause turning into an anxious buzz in her ears, leaving behind the only thing she loved and defined her. That same night, Elara took the first train out of the city. Looking out the window as Manhattan's skyscrapers shrank, she saw Cold Spring in the distance. A small point of light and a promise in the dark, the only place her collapsing mind could flee. Cold Spring greeted her with absolute silence. Snow fell gently, muffling the city's sounds and the noise in Elara's mind. She walked aimlessly through the streets, the violin case in her hand, no longer an instrument of joy, but the weight of her failure. Her steps led her to the waterfront, where the Hudson River seemed almost frozen, and there she saw him, an older man, standing at the pier's edge, with the solitary lighthouse behind him. He was playing violin. The melody wasn't performative, it was an intimate conversation with the winter landscape. It was Alexander Connington, the retired maestro. He finished playing and turned to her, his serene eyes noting the case in her hands. He didn't ask who she was. He asked what he saw. "You carry your violin like a burden. Why?" The direct question, from a stranger, broke Elara's armor. "I failed. Music is over for me," she replied, her voice weak against the cold wind. Alexander looked at the river, then back at her. "Music is never over," he said, "but your habits are broken. Life needs a conductor. Will you be yours?" Alexander's question hung in the frozen air. "Be my own maestro," Elara thought. She could barely hold the violin, let alone conduct an entire life. Seeing the doubt on her face, Alexander didn't offer a speech. Instead, he took a small notebook and pen from his pocket. On the first page, he drew 3 simple symbols: a musical note, a heart, and a lighthouse. He handed her the notebook, and then gave the strangest and most important lesson of her life. "Your destiny is a symphony," he said, his calm voice cutting the silence. "But you've stopped tuning your instruments. Do these daily." He touched the musical note. "Tune your violin for 5 minutes. This will be your daily dose of discipline." Then, he touched the heart. "Write 1 gratitude note every day, and this will be your daily habit of perspective." And finally, he pointed to the lighthouse drawing. "Walk to the lighthouse at dawn. This will be your gesture of purpose." He looked at her with quiet certainty. Small actions, big harmony. The proposal was so simple it seemed ridiculous. How could walking to a lighthouse cure the anxiety that paralyzed her at Carnegie Hall? Elara was skeptical, but also desperate. She held the note. It was the first step to take back the conductor's baton of her own life. Elara began not with faith, but with the obedience of one who has nothing left to lose. The first day was mechanical, but she did it. On the next day, she did it again. Every morning, the first note of her new symphony was discipline. Just 5 minutes tuning the violin. At first, her fingers trembled, the memory of the stage still alive. But day after day, as snow fell outside the window, the trembling gave way to firmness. Then came perspective, a single sticky note on the window, with a phrase of gratitude, the golden sun on the Hudson today. Small recognitions that began to change the colors of her inner world. And finally, purpose, the walk in the snow to the lighthouse, every morning at dawn. Her steps, at first hesitant, became firm. The lighthouse wasn't a destination, it was a direction. Days passed. Her hands stopped trembling. Her heart stopped racing. The river didn't freeze her spirit. Elara didn't notice the change happening. There was no grand revelation moment, but the symphony was being built, note by note, in silence. The chaos of her anxiety was being replaced by the harmony of her routine. 30 days of small habits didn't transform Elara into a superhero. They did something deeper. They returned her to herself. And on a spring morning, with the fresh morning air, she returned to the pier where it all began. But this time, she didn't carry her violin like a burden. She carried it like a voice. As the sun rose, painting the Hudson River gold, she began to play. It wasn't a complex or virtuosic piece to impress a crowd. It was a simple, soft melody that seemed born from the morning silence. Locals, on their morning walks, stopped to listen, drawn not by a performance, but by a feeling. When she finished, Alexander approached. "What changed?" he asked gently. Elara looked at the lighthouse, now dimmed by daylight, and smiled. A genuine smile that reached her eyes. "I stopped chasing grand symphonies, and I started tuning small notes." She no longer needed Carnegie Hall's applause. The silent admiration of her small town, and the peace within herself, were the only ovation that mattered. Elara's journey leaves us with a simple and profound truth. Our habits are the instruments of our destiny. Tune them daily, play them with consistency, and your life will play the most beautiful symphony, for it is the small rituals we practice that define our direction. The key is to adjust what we repeat. If this lesson resonated with you, leave a comment below telling us, what habit will you start to tune today? Like and share this video if the story struck the right chord in your heart. And don't forget to subscribe to continue improving your English. Until next time, tune your notes daily, find your harmony, and compose your masterpiece.